hip hop has been like the most powerful thing I've ever been involved in. The only thing I've seen more powerful in my personal journey through the culture of hip hop, and it was a situation where I was powerless, was to see my wife have a baby. Like, that was the most powerful experience I ever witnessed. Like, I couldn't, you prepare for it for those 9 months and everything, and then you're there in the moment and it's happening, and you're the father, and you're powerless, and all of a sudden you look, first of all, when you find out your wife or your girlfriend or whatever is pregnant, you just start looking at her different. There's a person inside of her that you can't see now that's growing, and you're gonna have to deal with that when this person arrives until this person is an adult. Like, your whole life is changed. So it's this powerless situation for the man, but it's happening, and it's a powerful thing to witness. I kind of saw that with hip hop, especially being out here in Los Angeles, where we didn't even understand the culture at all. When I heard Rapper's Delight, I was 16 years old, and I thought he was scatting when he was saying, I said a hip hop, a hippie to the hippie. I didn't understand. We didn't have music videos. We didn't have any sort of communication. I always say this because I've been working on music videos since the beginning as a producer, an AD, a director, everything. The most important thing about music videos for our culture was it was a form of communication to see what they were talking about and then be able to understand it, because now there's a visual that goes along with it. So once again, something very powerful, because before the only way you found out what was happening in another part of the United States was when somebody's cousin came to visit for the summer, right? And he was dressed different, right? And you want to know what's up with that, and you found out. Through hip hop, it was a way to hear it on the record, but we couldn't understand it. I started out as a DJ with my friend back here, Gerald Alexander, and we gave parties across the street at the Veterans Auditorium. We got 2,000 kids every 2 weeks. We forced them to bring canned goods in order to get in. They had to pay and bring 2 canned goods. We were being like the Black Panthers. We were being like a breakfast program. The food was distributed by an organization called LIFE. Acronym was Love is Feeding Everyone. Dennis Weaver had this organization all over the United States. He distributed food. We said, we'll give you the food, but it has to be distributed in our community. So it was distributed off of like Western and 60-something. We made sure, and we videotaped it. I was in film school. Gerald was also a filmmaker. So we had the knowledge to videotape this stuff. So we have this incredible archive of all this video footage, you know, from the late 70s and the 80s, showing that we're using hip hop to raise food for our community by giving hip hop parties in a neighborhood where they don't even want us out here. You know that to come to Culver City, you know, in 1985, 1983, when we were doing this in 1982, you would get stopped as soon as you hit Fairfax in Washington. They were waiting at the Winchell's Donut Shop. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? In the parking lot waiting to ask you, what are you doing? Like, ask you, like, where are you going? Especially if you're 17, 18, 19, like, where are you going? I'm going to this party at the Vets, blah, 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 blah. We had to, Uncle Jam's Army was giving parties across the street. They had a big fight, big fallout, mini riot. By the time it got to the newspaper, it was a riot. They had the dogs out here, everything, right? So they shut it down. Translation, they shut it down to black people. Like, we couldn't give no more parties at the Veterans Auditorium across the street. So what we did was, we took a cue from our man right here, and we had this guy named Ansel Simpson. And Ansel spoke perfect King's English. He wore a tie, and he had already been like a manager for Uncle Jam's Art. They would send him to the different venues to talk to the people, to prep them that, oh, we're going to give this party, and it's not going to be a big thing, and then it would be a big thing, and they couldn't keep coming. So what we had to do was send Ansel to a city council meeting in Culver City. I came up with the idea that I wanted to do dance competitions, battles on stage. So we said we were going to do these dance competitions, and that would keep the kids off the street. And they're scratching their heads like, what kids? We ain't got no problem with no kids on the streets out here, you know. And we said we're going to raise food. We didn't tell them we're not going to distribute the food in Culver City. We're going to raise canned goods for people. So once again, it was the power of hip hop. It was, we were able to take it and, you know, give these dances. We were playing hip hop music as well as other genres of music, and turn it around to benefit not only ourselves and make money, but feel good about ourselves because we're benefiting the community. So there is a certain power in this culture, and it's so powerful. You can barely turn on TV today and not see a car commercial with somebody pop locking. I seen a vacuum commercial and everybody was pop locking. And y'all seen it, right? Everybody's pop locking. So if you're old school like me, I'm 50 like you. You saw all these things happening. You saw it go from locking to pop locking. You saw it go, and hip hop did not make the whole gangster thing fashionable here in LA. Crack cocaine did. Because what happened was when I was younger, you didn't want to be with the gang members because they didn't have, what did they have to offer? Except you might get beat up. They weren't even shooting yet, right? Crack hit, and they had lowriders, money, all the women, Dayton's, Nissan trucks. They dressed. They didn't change their dress style so much, but the tennis shoes cost a lot of money. They had the jewelry. Right. So we started to gravitate towards that, you know. And real quick, Vibe magazine started the East Coast, West Coast beef. Vibe magazine started the East Coast, West Coast beef. And you'll see it, how it plays out in the Project West project. Because when you put it in print, and you put it on the cover of a magazine, and nobody had said it was an East Coast, West Coast beef. It was a Notorious B.I.G. Tupac beef. I used to talk to him about it all the time. I used to say, dude, what is this all about? Well, he did this, and I think they had me set up, and he was just so angry about this whole thing. But how did it turn to this East Coast, West Coast beef is beyond me, except I saw it in print. And when I saw it in print, I started to think, oh, that's maybe what it is. So these guys I was working with at the time, Daz and Corrupt, they went to shoot a music video in New York called New York, New York, which is a remake of a song by Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, and somebody shot up their trailer. Like, that's real spit. They shot up their trailer in New York because they were out there. And the beef had started, but the people in the community didn't want no beef. But they fed into it. And once again, that's the power of it. The negative side of the power of it, but the power of it nonetheless. So we have to be very careful. Yes?